Hello everybody, this is going to be a quick little video about the feedback surveys you did about a month ago. I want to say sorry it took me so long to put these together, but I'm glad we did it, and I think there'll be a lot to gain from it. I want to thank everybody that participated, and I'm going to explain a little bit about the reasoning behind why we did this. The main goal of the survey was to get you guys individual feedback on ways in which you can improve. And when we as individuals improve throughout the company will be better. The last thing that we wanted to do was criticize somebody or evaluate somebody based off something they're doing, say, wrong that they're not aware of. So we structured this to be a safe environment where you can, give feedback to your peers and also receive feedback. I'm a firm believer that, the opinion of just me or us collectively as the owners is not going to be a very accurate assessment of you guys. So we opened it up to as many people as we thought would have valuable input, and we got a good system of peer review. So a couple major trends that I saw in the survey was attitude was by far the most mentioned thing, whether good or bad, whether it's always shows up with a great attitude no matter the circumstances, or needs to work on his attitude and understand how much it affects the whole crew. So I have gathered that attitude's a lot more than just showing up with a smile. Just not having a bad attitude doesn't qualify having a good attitude. Bringing a good attitude is putting in maximum effort every day, being a team player, having patience, sacrificing, respect, and so much more. Communication was another big one in regards to crew leads, the office, the owners, pretty much throughout the company. So, as crew leads, communicate expectations, give feedback from the office, communicate through the work orders, job specifics, and then from the owners, more evaluation and, honest, non-sugar-coated feedback. So real quick, I'll go over how to interpret your survey. So when looking at your survey, you'll see your name up top and then the categories of which we evaluated. So attitude, teamwork, overall, and combined. So this was the scores of which your peers gave you. So if 23 people voted you, this was the average. And then on the far right here, you'll see your ranking out of the 23. This line's the company average, so out of the 23, the average score was this. And then lastly is the rating you gave yourself. Just below that, you'll see the average rating that you gave your peers. So out of all the scores you gave, this was your average. Down below, we have the pick 3 categories, if you remember from taking the survey. The first question was something like, if you had 5 hours of work to do in 3 hours, who would you pick on your crew? The Homie Award, which was if you could pick 3 guys to stay out of town with, who would they be? And lastly, the Skill Reward, or skill category, which was if you had to pick 3 guys for an incredibly difficult job, who would you pick? And then this is your cumulative total for the pick 3. And then down below here, you'll see all the things that the company thinks or your peers think you do well, along with the things that could use some improvement. So based off of my personal one, what I could gather was that overall I seem to have been making an improvement, but there's still lots of room or progress to make. Communication was a big one that I saw. Let me get it switched back here. One of the big things was communicating, especially expectations, and communicating clearly. Leadership, making clear and defined decisions was something that I have always kind of lacked that I need to work on. And then don't sugarcoat things. I'm not the guy that likes bringing bad news, but it is necessary to kind of a leadership role, and that's something that I gathered from the guys, that they want the truth no matter what it is. So I'm going to work on that. And lastly was following through. make sure I finish projects that I start, clean up my mess when I'm done, and then holding people accountable. So follow through is a big thing. It's a company we need to improve on, not just myself. Let's see. Let's go back. So I did not forget. We do have a random prize drawing with. Oh, let's get back to the old face shot with our tub full of cash. Probably like $200 in there. I'm not really sure, but in Google Sheets there is a formula that's going to pick a random number between 1 and 17. So when I double click on it, it gives me a number. Sorry, if you were that number, you didn't win. So every time I do it, it gives a random number, which isn't seeming so random, but this is for all the bananas right here. So is everybody ready? That was a drum roll. Number 4, Ben Lundquist. You get the cash prize. And then I also got some awards, or some, how should I describe it, some distinguished members. So for the pick 3, the person with the most votes for speed was Hunter with 13. Second was Scott with 8. And third was a tie for Ben Hawkins, Sergio, and Aaron. For the homie pick 3, Hunter once again taking the cake at 12, followed by Cousin Ben at 10, and Jason at 7. And the skill, Aaron taking number 1 at 11, Jason number 2. Gives us with an overall for Hunter taking the cake at 32, Jason at 21, and a tie for third with Cousin Ben, or Ben H, and Aaron at 19. And lastly, I made a couple other categories that we wanted to see people excel at, and number 1 was the closest personal to peer review. So if you go back and you look at the comparison of the peer review rating of yourself versus how you rated yourself, there's a difference, and the award on that one goes to David. He was like 0.05 off from his peer review to his personal review. And then the other one I had was the lowest review of the owners. So the person that had enough, cojones to give us as the owners a low review. Once again, goes to David. And then these 3 were most honest feedback, and most constructive feedback, and most thoughtful feedback. I couldn't pick a winner because the majority of you guys kind of all contributed to that. So I was impressed with all your guys' contributions, and I thank you for that. So let's see. Lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I talked about why we did this. So the follow-up on this is going to be what we expect to see from you guys after having gone through the survey. Probably first is I'd like to see, and I've already had a couple of you guys come talk to me, a clear plan of what you're going to do to improve as an individual based off of the feedback you got on your survey. So we are trying to grow and improve as a company, and like I said earlier, that starts at an individual basis, and it's 90% of the value of the survey is not up to where we got now, it's the follow through. So it's given the knowledge that the survey gives you, what are you going to do to improve? So from my end of things, I think this survey, while this first one was a little rough, it's going to be something that we're going to do going forward, and it's going to be incredibly beneficial. So if you guys have any ideas on categories that are important to this company, or questions you want answers to, let me know, and I'll make sure they get into the next feedback survey. So thanks again. Thanks for listening to me babble for a while, and I look forward to the next one.